Dr. Lisa Monroe stepped off the transport ship and looked around at the most beautiful medical facility she had ever seen. The Zephyrian Institute of Healing Arts looked like it was made entirely of crystal and light. Tall spires reached toward. The purple sky and soft music seemed to come from the walls themselves. Everything glowed with a warm, peaceful energy that made her feel calm just by standing there. Jake Patterson whistled low as he carried their medical bags down the ramp. "This place doesn't look like any hospital I've ever seen," he said. "Where are all the machines, the monitors, the emergency equipment?" Lisa shook her head. She had read about Zephyrian healing methods, but seeing their medical center in person was completely different. There were no ambulances rushing around, no doctors running down hallways, no sounds of beeping machines or shouting nurses. Instead, everything moved slowly and quietly, like a meditation center. A tall, elegant figure approached them. The being had pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer, and when it moved, small lights flickered across its body like stars. This was Veltar, one of the senior medical students who would be showing them around. "Welcome, human healers," Veltar said in a voice that sounded like wind chimes. "We are honored to have you join our learning circle. Your species has traveled so far to share knowledge with us." Jake grinned and held out his hand for a handshake, but Veltar stepped back with what looked like surprise. The lights on the alien's body flickered yellow, which their translation device said meant confusion. "We do not touch during first meetings," Veltar explained gently. "Physical contact can disrupt the healing energies that flow around us. Instead, we share breath." The alien demonstrated by breathing in deeply and then exhaling toward them. "Lisa," and Jake looked at each other and shrugged. They had been briefed about cultural differences, but they were learning that reading about them and experiencing them were two very different things. They copied the breathing gesture, and Veltar's body lights turned a warm green color that meant approval. "Come," Veltar said. "Let me show you how we heal." They walked through corridors that curved and flowed like they had been grown rather than built. Other students moved past them, all different species but all carrying the same peaceful energy. Some looked almost human but with different colored skin or extra arms. Others were completely alien, with tentacles or multiple eyes or bodies that seemed to shift and change as they moved. "This is our main healing chamber," Veltar said, leading them into a large circular room. The walls were covered in crystals that hummed softly, and the floor was made of some kind of stone that felt warm under their feet. In the center of the room, several students surrounded what looked like a patient lying on a floating platform. But they weren't doing anything that Lisa or Jake recognized as medical treatment. Instead, they were humming in harmony while moving their hands slowly through the air above the patient. Soft lights danced between their fingers, and the crystals on the walls seemed to respond by changing color and pitch. "The patient has a broken bone in his arm," Veltar explained. "We are using harmonic resonance to encourage the bone to remember its proper shape and grow back together. It will take about 6 hours for complete healing, but there will be no pain and no scars." Jake stared. 6 hours? For a broken arm?" "Yes," Veltar said, looking pleased. "Much faster than the old ways. Before we learned harmony healing, such an injury might take several days to mend properly." Lisa watched the peaceful scene and tried to imagine what would happen if someone with a broken arm came into her emergency room. They would have X-rays taken within minutes, the bones set and cast applied within an hour, and the patient sent home with pain medication and instructions to return in 6 weeks. The whole process would take maybe 2 hours, not 6. "What about emergencies?" she asked. "What if someone is bleeding badly or their heart stops beating?" The lights on Veltar's body flickered to a pale color that the translator said meant thoughtfulness. "We have techniques for urgent situations, of course. For severe bleeding, we use deep tissue harmonics to seal the wounds. It takes about 2 hours. For heart failure, we perform cardiac resonance therapy. That usually requires 4 hours of continuous treatment." Jake's mouth fell open. 4 hours? If someone's heart stops, they'll be dead in 4 minutes, not 4 hours. Dead? Veltar looked confused. "But how can they be dead if we are still healing them?" Lisa realized they had hit their first major cultural barrier. She tried to explain gently. Human bodies can't survive without a heartbeat for very long. Our brains need constant blood flow, or they stop working permanently. How long? Asked another alien student who had joined their group. This one looked like Veltar but smaller with darker blue skin. The translator identified the speaker as Crixmoth. About 4 to 6 minutes, Lisa said. After that, even if we restart the heart, the brain damage is usually too severe to fix. The alien students looked at each other with what were obviously expressions of shock and concern. Their body lights flickered in rapid patterns of yellow and orange. Your species must be very fragile, Crixmoth said sadly. How terrible to live with bodies that can die so quickly. No wonder you seem so rushed and anxious compared to other beings we have met. Jake laughed, but not in a mean way. Actually, we're pretty tough. Humans can survive injuries that would kill most other species we've met. We just handle medical emergencies differently than you do. How differently? Veltar asked. Lisa and Jake looked at each other again. They had been dreading this moment since they accepted the exchange program invitation. How do you explain human medicine to beings who think 6 hours is fast treatment? Well, Lisa began carefully, human medicine tends to be more direct. Direct how? Jake cleared his throat. Sometimes we have to cut people open to fix what's wrong inside. The silence in the room was sudden and complete. Even the humming from the healing session stopped. Every alien in the chamber turned to stare at them with wide eyes and rapidly flickering body lights. Cut them open? Crixmoth whispered. You mean with blades? Yes, Lisa said. Sometimes that's the only way to save someone's life. Veltar's body lights went completely dark for a moment, then flickered back to a deep purple color that the translator marked as extreme distress. But that would disrupt all their life energies, Veltar said. It would contaminate their spiritual essence. How do they survive such treatment? Most of the time, they heal just fine, Jake said. Humans are built to handle trauma. Our bodies know how to repair damage quickly. And if someone's heart stops, Lisa added, we sometimes have to break their ribs to push on the heart directly and make it start beating again. Several aliens made sounds that didn't need translation. Crixmoth sat down suddenly on the floor, looking faint. You break their bones to heal them? Veltar asked in a voice barely above a whisper. Only when we have to, Jake said quickly, and broken ribs heal. A stopped heart doesn't restart itself. The alien students began talking rapidly among themselves in their own language, their body lights flashing in patterns of purple and red and orange. Lisa caught words that the translator marked as savage, barbaric, and unthinkable. Dr. Harmony Weave, the senior instructor, approached their group. This being was older than the students, with silver skin instead of blue and more elaborate light patterns flowing across its body. Perhaps, Dr. Harmony Weave said in a voice like distant thunder, it would be best if we observed your healing methods before making judgments. We are here to learn, after all. Veltar looked up from the group of distressed students. You want us to watch them cut someone? Not someone real, Lisa said quickly. We brought medical training dummies. We can show you the techniques without actually hurting anyone. The aliens looked relieved but still nervous. Dr. Harmony Weave nodded slowly. Very well. Tomorrow we will have a demonstration. Tonight you should rest and prepare yourselves. I suspect this will be educational for all of us. As they were led to their guest quarters, Lisa heard Crixmoth talking to Veltar in worried tones. What if their healing methods are contagious? What if being around them makes us violent too? Lisa sighed. This was going to be a very long exchange program. The next morning, every medical student at the Zephyrian Institute gathered in the main demonstration hall. Word had spread quickly about the human healers and their strange methods. Some students came out of curiosity, others out of concern, and a few out of what seemed like morbid fascination. Lisa and Jake set up their equipment on a table at the front of the room. They had brought several medical training dummies along with their standard emergency medical kit. The contrast between their metal and plastic tools and the glowing crystals of the alien medical equipment was stark. Dr. Harmony Weave floated to the center of the room. Today we will observe the healing practices of our human guests. Remember that different species have evolved different approaches to medicine. We are here to learn and understand, not to judge. Despite the instructor's words, Lisa could see the nervous flickering of lights on the alien students' bodies. Some had positioned themselves near the exits. Others clutched small crystals that probably served as comfort objects. Beltar approached their table cautiously. "What will you show us first?" Jake picked up a stethoscope. "This is pretty basic. We use it to listen to hearts and lungs." He demonstrated on himself, then offered it to Veltar. The alien student took the device like it might bite him, then slowly placed the earpieces in what looked like ears. When he heard his own heartbeat amplified, his body lights flashed bright, white with surprise. "It makes the life rhythm louder," Veltar said with wonder. "But why do you need to hear it so loudly?" "To check if something's wrong," Lisa explained. "Hearts make different sounds when they're sick or damaged. We need to hear those sounds to know how to help." She picked up a blood pressure cuff. "This squeezes your arm to measure how hard your heart is working." She wrapped it around the dummy's arm and pumped it up. The alien students gasped as the cuff inflated. Crixmoth stood up from his seat. "You are crushing its arm." "It doesn't hurt," Jake said. "Watch." He put the cuff on his own arm and inflated it. "See? It's tight, but it doesn't cause damage." The aliens looked unconvinced, especially when Jake's arm turned slightly red from the pressure. "Now," Lisa said, "we'll show you how we handle a medical emergency. Let's say this patient has a collapsed lung." She pointed to one of the training dummies. Air has leaked into the chest cavity and is pressing on the lung, making it impossible to breathe. Dr. Harmony Weave leaned forward with interest. "How do you treat such a condition with your harmonic methods?" "We don't use harmonic methods," Jake said. He opened their medical kit and pulled out a large needle attached to a plastic tube. "We use this." The reaction was immediate. Half the Pontandai alien students made sounds of distress. Several stood up as if to leave. Veltar's body lights went completely dark, which their translator indicated was the equivalent of fainting. "That is a weapon," Crixmoth said, his voice shaking. "You cannot heal with weapons." "It's not a weapon," Lisa said patiently. "It's a chest tube. Watch." She positioned the needle against the dummy's chest between two ribs. "We insert this. Here, push it through the skin and muscle and into the chest cavity." She demonstrated on the dummy, pushing the needle through the artificial skin. The wet sound it made caused 3 more aliens to leave the room. "Once it's in place," Jake continued, picking up a small pump, "we attach this suction device and remove the trapped air. The lung can then expand normally." He connected the pump to the tube and began drawing air out. The dummy's chest, which had been slightly distended, returned to normal shape. "The patient can breathe again," Lisa said. "The whole procedure takes about 5 minutes." The remaining aliens stared in horrified silence. Finally, Dr. Harmony Weave spoke. "And this does not kill them?" "Not if we do it right," Jake said. "In fact, without this procedure, they would die from not being able to breathe." "But you stabbed it," Crixmoth said, pointing at the needle still protruding from the dummy's chest. "You put a blade into its body." "It's not a blade, it's a hollow needle," Lisa explained. "And yes, we have to pierce the skin to reach the problem. There's no other way to get the trapped air out quickly enough." "How quickly?" Dr. Harmony Weave asked. "Someone with a collapsed lung has maybe 10 or 15 minutes before they die from lack of oxygen," Jake said. "We can't wait 6 hours for harmonic healing." Another alien student, one with green skin and multiple arms, raised a trembling hand. "What other procedures do you perform?" Lisa and Jake exchanged glances. They had prepared for this moment, but it still felt like they were about to traumatize these peaceful beings. "Well," Lisa began, "sometimes we have to perform surgery." "Surgery?" Veltar had recovered enough to ask questions, though his lights were still dim. Jake picked up a scalpel from their kit. The blade gleamed under the room's soft lighting. Sometimes the only way to fix what's wrong is to open the body and work directly on the damaged parts. The silence was so complete that they could hear the crystals humming in the walls. You cut them open while they are alive? Dr. Harmony Weave asked in a whisper. They're unconscious, Lisa said quickly. We use anesthesia so they don't feel pain. But yes, we cut through skin and muscle to reach organs that need repair. She demonstrated on another dummy, making a clean incision across the artificial abdomen. The sound of the blade cutting through the material made several aliens cover their faces. We might need to remove a damaged organ, Jake continued, reaching into the dummy's chest cavity with his hands. Or repair a torn blood vessel, or fix a broken bone from the inside. You put your hands inside them? Crixmoth looked like he might be sick. Sometimes, Lisa said. If a person is bleeding internally, we have to find the source of the bleeding and stop it. The only way to do that is to look inside. She pulled out a handful of fake organs from the dummy. We might remove a damaged spleen, or repair a torn liver, or even replace a failing heart with a healthy one from another person. That last statement caused complete chaos. Aliens began talking rapidly in their own languages, their body lights flashing in patterns of panic and distress. Several more students left the room. One began what sounded like prayers or chanting. Dr. Harmony Weave raised a hand for silence. You take organs from one person and put them in another? Only when someone is dying and it's the only way to save them, Jake explained. And only with permission from both people involved. But what happens to their life essence, Veltar asked. How can someone live with another person's organs inside them? They live just fine, Lisa said. I've done heart transplants myself. The patients go on to live normal, healthy lives. Impossible, Crixmoth muttered. No one can survive such desecration. Dr. Harmony Weave studied them carefully. You have seen these procedures succeed? Personally? Many times, Jake said. Lisa is one of the best trauma surgeons on our planet. She's saved hundreds of lives using these methods. The instructor's lights flickered in what looked like deep thought. Perhaps we should see a recording of one of these surgeries. No, Lisa said quickly. I don't think that would be a good idea. Maybe we should start with something simpler. But it was too late. The damage was done. The alien students now knew that humans routinely cut each other open, removed organs, and stuck needles into each other's bodies. And somehow, impossibly, their patients survived. The demonstration ended with most of the aliens filing out in shocked silence. Only Veltar and Crixmoth remained, along with Dr. Harmony Weave. Your methods are very different from ours, the instructor said carefully. Yes, Lisa agreed. But they work. That, said Dr. Harmony Weave, is what troubles me most of all. The alarm sound was unlike anything Lisa had ever heard. It wasn't the sharp beeping of human medical equipment, but a deep, mournful tone that seemed to come from the walls themselves. The crystals throughout the institute began pulsing with urgent red light, and she could feel vibrations through the floor. Jake looked up from the medical journal he had been reading. What's that sound? Before Lisa could answer, Veltar burst into their guest quarters. The aliens' body lights were flashing rapidly between orange and red, colors that meant extreme distress. Emergency, Veltar gasped. Transport accident. Student injured badly. Come quickly. They grabbed their medical bags and followed Veltar through the winding corridors. Other aliens were moving in the same direction, but none of them were running. Even in an emergency, they maintained their calm, flowing movements. Outside the institute, a crowd had gathered around a crashed hover platform. The vehicle had apparently lost power and fallen from about 20 feet up, landing hard on the crystalline courtyard. Pieces of the platform were scattered everywhere, and in the center of the wreckage lay a crystalline student. Lisa had never seen a crystalline before. The being looked like it was made of living gemstone, with a body that reflected light in beautiful patterns. But now many of those crystal surfaces were cracked and dark, and a pool of something that might have been blood was spreading beneath the injured student. This is prism light, Dr. Harmony Weave said as they approached. She is one of our exchange students from the crystalline reaches. The platform's anti-gravity generator failed during her morning flight lesson. Jake knelt beside the injured alien and began his assessment. The damage was severe even to his experienced eyes. Multiple fractures were visible through the transparent crystal skin, and the way the student was breathing suggested internal injuries. "How long ago did this happen?" Lisa asked, pulling out her medical scanner. "About 10 minutes ago," Veltar replied. "We have already begun the healing process." Lisa looked around and saw what he meant. A circle of alien students surrounded them, holding hands and humming in harmony. The crystals embedded in the courtyard were responding to their song, creating a complex pattern of light and sound. "This is 7-phase harmonic bone reconstruction," Dr. Harmony Weave explained. "It will take approximately 7 hours to fully heal all the fractures. The internal injuries will require an additional 3-hour organ resonance treatment." 10 hours total? Jake asked, looking up from his scanner readings. "Yes, but she will be perfectly healed, with no scars or lasting damage." Lisa stared at her scanner display. The readings were bad, very bad. "She doesn't have 10 hours. She doesn't even have 1 hour." "What do you mean?" Crixmoth asked. He was part of the healing circle, but his voice was strained with worry. "Look at these readings," Lisa showed her scanner to Dr. Harmony Weave. "Massive internal bleeding. Her equivalent of a spleen is ruptured, and there's damage to what looks like her primary circulation organ. She's losing blood faster than her body can replace it. The harmonic healing will address those issues," Dr. Harmony Weave said calmly. "Internal bleeding responds well to deep tissue resonance." "In 10 hours, she'll be dead," Jake said bluntly. "I've seen injuries like this before. She has maybe 20 or 30 minutes before blood loss causes complete organ failure." The humming from the healing circle faltered as the students heard this exchange. Several of them looked uncertain, but they resumed their song after a moment. "Your scanner must be wrong," Veltar said. "Crystalline physiology is very resilient. Prismalite can survive the healing process." Lisa checked her readings again. If anything, they were getting worse. The internal bleeding was accelerating. "No, she can't. Look, I know you want to use your traditional methods, but this is exactly the kind of emergency where human medicine can help." "Absolutely not," Dr. Harmony Weave said firmly. "We will not allow you to desecrate her body with your crude cutting techniques. Crystalline beings are especially sensitive to spiritual contamination. Your methods would corrupt her life essence permanently." "Better corrupted than dead," Jake muttered, but Dr. Harmony Weave heard him. "Death is preferable to the destruction of one's spiritual integrity," the instructor said coldly. "You humans may not understand this, but we value the soul above the mere physical form." Lisa felt frustrated tears building behind her eyes. She had sworn an oath to save lives, and now she was watching someone die, while the tools to help her were right in her hands. "What if she doesn't survive your treatment?" she asked. "What if the bleeding is too severe? Then she will die with her essence intact," Dr. Harmony Weave replied. "She will transition to the next realm without the corruption of invasive procedures." "That's not acceptable," Jake said, standing up. "We can save her life right now, today. In this courtyard. By violating everything we believe about healing and the sanctity of the body," Crixmoth said. "Your methods are an abomination to our understanding of medicine." Lisa knelt down and looked at Prismlight's face. The crystalline student was unconscious, but her breathing was becoming more labored. The crystal formations on her chest were flickering weakly, like a dying light bulb. "She's fading," Lisa said quietly. "Whatever decision we make, we need to make it fast." The healing circle continued their humming, but Lisa could see doubt in their body language. Even they could tell that their patient was getting worse, not better. Dr. Harmony Weave checked their own medical instruments, devices that looked like singing bowls made of crystal. The readings they provided were apparently not encouraging, because the instructor's lights dimmed noticeably. "The harmonic resonance is not achieving the expected results," Dr. Harmony Weave admitted. "The injury is more severe than our initial assessment indicated." "Then let us help her," Lisa pleaded. "I can stop the internal bleeding in 15 minutes. Jake can stabilize her vital signs while I work. She'll live." And be spiritually destroyed in the process, Veltar said. What kind of life would that be? A life, Jake said simply. A life where she can make her own choices about what happens. Next. Lisa watched the readings on her scanner continue to drop. Prism Light's blood pressure was falling dangerously low. Her breathing was becoming irregular. In human terms, she was going into shock. 5 minutes, Lisa said. She has maybe 5 minutes before the point of no return. The alien healers looked at each other with growing panic. Their calm, measured approach to medicine had never faced a situation like this. They were trained to heal slowly and gently, not to make split-second decisions about life and death. We cannot allow it, Dr. Harmony Weave said, but there was uncertainty in the voice now. Then watch her die, Jake said harshly. Watch her die because you're more concerned about spiritual purity than saving a life. Lisa made a decision. She had made this decision before in emergency rooms and on battlefields. Sometimes you had to act first and ask forgiveness later. Jake, she said quietly, get the trauma kit ready. Jake nodded and began unpacking their emergency surgical supplies. No, Dr. Harmony Weave said, stepping toward them. I forbid this. You will not touch her. Then stop me, Lisa said, pulling on surgical gloves. Because I'm not going to stand here and watch someone die when I can. Prevent it. The confrontation was interrupted by a weak voice from the ground. Prism Light had regained consciousness and was trying to speak. Please, the crystalline student whispered, her voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. I want to live. Whatever it takes. I want to live. The healing circle fell silent. Dr. Harmony Weave stared down at their patient with an expression of profound conflict. You do not understand what you are asking, the instructor said gently. I understand that I am dying, Prism Light replied, and I understand that these humans believe they can save me. Please, let them try. Lisa looked at Dr. Harmony Weave. It's her choice. After a long moment, the instructor stepped back. If you kill her with your barbaric methods, you will answer to the crystalline government. If I don't try, she'll be dead anyway, Lisa replied, kneeling beside her patient. Jake, prep for emergency surgery. We're going in. Lisa opened her surgical kit and pulled out a scalpel. The blade caught the light from the pulsing crystals and she heard several aliens gasp behind her. She tried to block out their horrified whispers and focus on her patient. Jake, I need you to keep her stable while I find the source of the bleeding, she said, pulling on surgical gloves. Monitor her vital signs and let me know if anything changes. Jake nodded and attached his portable monitors to Prism Light. The beeping sounds of human medical equipment seemed harsh and mechanical compared to the soft humming of alien healing. Crystals. Blood pressure is dropping fast, Jake reported. Pulse is getting weaker. We need to move quickly. Lisa looked down at Prism Light's crystal body. She had never operated on a crystalline before, but anatomy was anatomy. The basic principles had to be the same, even if the materials were different. I'm going to make an incision in your abdomen, she told Prism Light gently. You'll feel pressure, but the local anesthetic should prevent pain. Before she could begin, Dr. Harmony Weave stepped forward. Wait. At least let us provide spiritual protection for her essence. If you must do this barbaric thing, we can try to minimize the spiritual damage. Do whatever you need to do, Lisa said. But do it fast. The alien instructor began a low chanting while waving crystalline implements over Prism Light's body. Other aliens joined in, creating a complex harmony that seemed to resonate with the injured student's crystal structure. Lisa waited impatiently. Every second counted, but she understood that the aliens were trying to help in their own way. When the chanting reached a certain pitch, Dr. Harmony Weave nodded. We have surrounded her essence with protective barriers, the instructor said. Proceed with your surgery. Lisa positioned the scalpel against Prism Light's crystalline skin. The surface was harder than human flesh, but not impossibly so. She took a deep breath and made the first cut. The reaction from the watching aliens was immediate and intense. Veltar made a sound like breaking glass. Crixmoth fell to his knees and began what sounded like prayers. Several other students covered their eyes or turned away completely. "She's cutting her open," someone whispered in horror. "She's actually cutting her open." Lisa ignored them and continued her work. The crystal skin parted under her blade, revealing internal structures that were beautiful and alien but still recognizable. There were organs that looked like they served the same functions as human organs, just made of different materials. "I can see the damage," she said to Jake. "There's a major rupture in what looks like her spleen equivalent, and there's a tear in the wall of her stomach cavity." Jake checked his monitors. "Blood pressure is still dropping. How long do you need?" "Give me 10 minutes, Lisa said, reaching into Prism Light's body cavity with her hands. "Maybe 15. The aliens watching made sounds of absolute horror as Lisa put her hands inside their fellow student. Crixmoth began what the translator marked as last rites. Veltar was making a high-pitched keening sound that seemed to express pure grief. "Stop," Dr. Harmony Weave said suddenly. "This is wrong. You are destroying her." "I'm saving her," Lisa replied without looking up. She had found the torn organ and was working to clamp off the bleeding vessels. "Jake, hand me the surgical repair kit." "Her life essence is being contaminated," Dr. Harmony Weave insisted. "Can't you see the spiritual damage you're causing?" Lisa looked up for a moment. Prism Light's crystal body was indeed flickering strangely, the normal light patterns disrupted by the surgery. But her vital signs were stabilizing. "Her blood pressure is coming up," Jake reported. "Pulse is getting stronger." "The spiritual contamination is irreversible," Veltar said, his voice full of despair. "Even if her body survives, she will be forever changed, forever damaged." Lisa continued working, removing the damaged portion of the organ and sealing the remaining healthy tissue. "Sometimes damage is the price of survival." "You don't understand," Crixmoth said. "For us, spiritual integrity is more important than physical existence. You are condemning her to a fate worse than death." "I'm giving her a chance to make that choice for herself," Lisa replied. She was now working on the tear in the stomach wall, carefully stitching the crystal membrane back together with specialized surgical thread. The alien students continued their horrified commentary as Lisa worked. They described what she was doing in terms that the translator rendered as desecration, violation, and spiritual murder. Several of them were openly weeping. "How can you be so calm while doing such terrible things?" Veltar asked. Jake answered, for her. "Because we've seen it work. We've seen people live because of these procedures. To us, this isn't terrible. This is hope." "But look at her." Crixmoth pointed at Prism Light. "Her light patterns are completely disrupted. Her crystal structure is losing coherence. You're destroying everything that makes her who she is." Lisa paused in her work to check her patient's face. Prism Light was conscious and aware, watching the surgery with what looked like fascination rather than horror. "How do you feel?" Lisa asked her. "Strange," Prism Light replied in her wind chime voice. "Different, but alive. I can feel my body healing in ways I never knew were possible." "That's because it is healing," Lisa said. "Your body is responding to the repairs I'm making. The bleeding has stopped. Your damaged organs are being fixed. Doctor." Harmony Weave stepped closer to examine the surgical site. "The tissue regeneration is unprecedented. I have never seen healing happen so quickly." "Human medicine is about speed and efficiency," Jake explained. "We fix the immediate problem fast, then let the body's natural healing take over." Lisa was finishing the last of the internal repairs. "Almost done. Just need to close the incision, and she'll be stable." She began stitching the crystal skin back together with careful, precise movements. The aliens watched in fascinated horror as she literally sewed their fellow student back together. "The scarring will be permanent," Dr. Harmony Weave observed. "She will carry the mark of this procedure for the rest of her life." "Scars fade," Lisa said. "And they're a sign that someone survived something that should have killed them." As she tied off the last stitch, Jake's monitors showed that Prism Light's vital signs had stabilized completely. Her blood pressure was normal, her pulse was strong, and her breathing was easy and regular. "Surgery complete," Lisa announced, pulling off her bloody gloves. Patient is stable and expected to make a full recovery. The aliens stared at her in stunned silence. They had just watched a human perform what they considered to be the ultimate act of medical barbarism, and somehow the patient was not only alive but apparently healthy. Prism Light sat up slowly, examining the neat row of stitches across her crystal abdomen. I feel good. Better than I have since the accident. That's impossible, Veltar whispered. You should be spiritually destroyed. You should be contaminated beyond healing. I feel like myself, Prism Light said. Just repaired. Dr. Harmony Weave ran their own medical instruments over the surgical site. The readings they got were apparently not what they expected, because their body lights began flashing in rapid patterns of confusion and amazement. Her life essence is intact, the instructor said in disbelief. Damaged perhaps, changed certainly, but intact. She is still herself. Lisa packed up her surgical instruments. That's because surgery doesn't change who someone is. It just fixes what's broken. The crowd of alien students began talking among themselves in excited, frightened voices. They had witnessed something that challenged everything they believed about healing and the nature of life itself. This should not be possible, Crixmoth said. Everything we know says that such invasive procedures destroy the spirit. Maybe, Jake said, everything you know is wrong. 3 days after the surgery, Prism Light walked into the main healing chamber like nothing had happened. The neat line of stitches across her crystal abdomen was already beginning to fade, and her internal light patterns were brighter than they had been before the accident. The alien medical students stared at her in amazement. Some had expected her to be dead by now. Others thought she would be permanently damaged, a broken shell of her former self. Instead, she looked healthier than ever. How do you feel? Veltar asked cautiously, as if speaking too loudly might shatter her. Wonderful, Prism Light replied, her voice clear and musical. I slept better last night than I have in months. My energy levels are higher than normal. I actually feel better than I did before the accident. Dr. Harmony Weave approached with a collection of diagnostic crystals. May I examine you? We need to understand what the human procedures have done to your life essence. Prism Light nodded and stood still while the instructor ran various tests. The crystals hummed and glowed as they scanned her body, measuring everything from spiritual energy to physical health. The results were apparently confusing, because Dr. Harmony Weave kept repeating the tests with different instruments. This is impossible, the instructor finally said. According to every measurement we have, you are completely healthy. Your life essence shows no signs of contamination or damage. If anything, it appears stronger than before. How can that be? Crixmoth asked. The humans violated her body in the most invasive way possible. They cut her open and touched her internal organs with their bare hands. Lisa, who had been quietly observing from the corner of the room, stepped forward. Maybe your understanding of spiritual contamination is wrong. Wrong? Dr. Harmony Weave's body lights flickered with surprise. Our medical knowledge has been refined over thousands of years. We have never been wrong about the effects of invasive procedures. Have you ever tried invasive procedures? Jake asked. The alien instructor paused. Well, no. Such methods are forbidden by our most sacred medical laws. We have always known they were dangerous without needing to test them. You assumed they were dangerous, Lisa corrected. But you never actually found out. Prism Light moved closer to the group of students, who were still staring at her like she was a ghost. I want to tell you what it felt like, she said. During the surgery, I could feel the human doctor working inside my body. It should have been terrible, right? It should have felt like violation and destruction. The students nodded, hanging on her every word. But it didn't feel like that at all, Prism Light continued. It felt like rescue, like someone was fixing something that was broken. I could feel my body getting stronger as she worked. I could feel the bleeding stopping and the pain going away. Veltar's body lights flickered with confusion. But how is that possible? How can cutting and invading lead to healing? Jake sat down on one of the crystal benches. Because sometimes things are so badly broken that gentle methods can't fix them fast enough. Sometimes you need to be aggressive to save a life. Our species evolved differently than yours, Lisa added. Humans came from a dangerous world where we had to survive all kinds of trauma. We learned to heal quickly and roughly because we didn't have time for slow, gentle methods. Dr. Harmony Weave studied the scan results again. But surely there must be some negative effects, some hidden damage that we cannot detect. I've been monitoring myself, Prism Light said. My crystal resonance is actually more stable than it was before the accident. My energy absorption is more efficient. Even my emotional balance feels better. That doesn't make sense, Crixmoth said. Invasive procedures should disrupt all of those systems. Lisa smiled. Maybe that's your problem right there. You're so afraid of disruption that you never learned that sometimes disruption is exactly what's needed. A new voice joined the conversation. It was another crystalline student who had just arrived from the Outer Rim systems. Prism Light? Is that really you? I heard you were in a terrible accident. I was, Prism Light said. But the human doctors saved my life using their surgical methods. The new student looked shocked. Surgical methods? You mean they cut you open? Yes, and it was amazing, Prism Light said enthusiastically. I was dying, and they fixed me in. Less than an hour. With traditional healing, I would have been dead long before the treatment could help. Word of Prism Light's recovery spread quickly through the institute. Within hours, students from dozens of different species were coming to see the miracle patient who had survived human surgery. Many were skeptical at first, but Prism Light was happy to tell her story to anyone who would listen. She showed off her surgical scar like it was a badge of honor. She demonstrated how well she could move and how strong she felt. The humans didn't hurt me, she would tell each new group of visitors. They saved me. Their methods might look violent and scary, but they work. Dr. Harmony Weave called a special meeting of the Institute's senior staff. We need to reconsider our understanding of invasive medical procedures, the instructor announced. The evidence suggests that our assumptions may have been incomplete. One of the other instructors, a being with translucent skin and multiple hearts, raised an objection. Are we really going to abandon thousands of years of medical wisdom based on one case? We're not abandoning anything, Dr. Harmony Weave replied. We're expanding our knowledge. The humans have shown us that there are effective medical techniques we never considered. Lisa and Jake were invited to demonstrate more of their procedures, this time to the senior medical staff rather than just students. They showed techniques for emergency heart surgery, brain operations, and organ transplants. The alien doctors watched with a mixture of horror and fascination as the humans explained how they could replace damaged hearts, repair broken spines, and even transplant entire limbs from one person to another. Your medicine is so immediate, one instructor observed. You see a problem and you fix it right away, regardless of how invasive the solution might be. Because waiting isn't always an option, Jake explained. When someone is dying, you have minutes or hours to save them, not days or weeks. And your patients truly survive these procedures? Another instructor asked. Most of them, Lisa said. Human surgery has a very high success rate for emergency procedures. We've been doing it for hundreds of years. The meeting ended with a decision that shocked everyone present. The Galactic Medical Academy would create a new department dedicated to studying and teaching emergency intervention techniques based on human methods. Veltar was among the first students to sign up for the new program. Despite his initial horror at human surgical techniques, if these methods can save lives, he said, then I want to learn them. Crixmoth was more hesitant, but even he admitted that the results spoke for themselves. I still think the procedures look terrible, he said, but I can't argue with success. Within a month, the Institute had established the first-ever emergency intervention training center in galactic history. Students from across the galaxy came to learn human medical techniques, though most required psychological counseling to get through the training. Prism Light became the poster student for the program. She gave lectures about her experience and helped train new students by serving as a living example of successful human surgery. The humans taught us that healing doesn't have to be gentle to be effective, she would tell each new class. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is be fast and decisive, even if it looks scary. Lisa and Jake became celebrities in the galactic medical community. They were invited to teach at institutes across known space, spreading human emergency medicine to species that had never imagined such techniques were possible. We started this exchange program thinking we'd learn about alien healing methods, Lisa said at the graduation ceremony for the first class of emergency intervention specialists. Instead, we taught them that sometimes the best healing is the kind that looks like it shouldn't work at all. The ceremony ended with Prism Light presenting Lisa and Jake with crystalline medals of honor, the highest award the Institute could give. "Thank you," Prism Light said, "for showing us that being alive is more important than being perfect." As they prepared to return to Earth, Lisa and Jake looked back at the Institute with satisfaction. They had challenged an entire galaxy's understanding of medicine and proven that human methods, however brutal they might appear, could save lives that would otherwise be lost. The universe would never look at healing the same way again.